At a little chicken meeting with about 25 or 30,000 people in town for it. So we're gonna do Representative Jasper's bill that really affects the poultry industry first, and then we're gonna back up and do the other preliminary stuff. So without any more time wasting, Representative Harden, would you say a blessing over this crowd, please, sir?
Join me in prayer, please. Our Father in heaven, we come together today to join in prayer. Father, praise your holy name for all your goodness toward us, for all that you do for us, and Father, to ask that you would guide us as we deliberate today. Again, Father, we thank you for your blessings. Pray that you would guide us, go with us. These things we pray in your most holy name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. You know, last year we had, 3 mics in here, and you had to shuffle them around, and if you left one on, it'd squeal. So now we got new ones, but I ain't sure how to run this thing up here. If I mess up, Tracy will help me. Representative Jaspers, I don't even know what your bill number is. 800. If you want to go ahead. Did that one come on? See if it.
No, sir, not yet.
It's on.
Try
There
it
it
now.
is.
That got it. All right.
Yep.
To the committee members, there's summaries that the best policy analysis in the Capitol Complex did for you. It's in non-lawyer language in your folder. If you got any questions on it, Rick, go ahead.
I hope that, thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I hope in this testimony here real quick, I'll really explain this well to you. But thanks for letting us go first. I know Mike Giles, like I said, has 30,000 people in town for the largest poultry meeting in the world. And I think that's why I have a little background, because I think in agriculture, we always need to kind of be reminded of how important certain aspects of our industry is. And just look at the farm gate value. You know, poultry is 47% of it. It's $5.4 billion. And that's a $28 billion annual contribution to our state. 138,000 Georgians depend on poultry as their job in one way or another. And I was thinking about our counties as we were just sitting here. You look at Cherokee County, Clark County, largest employer in many of those counties across our state. And all this is not possible without the very close working relationship between the companies, the growers, and the animal. And that's what's all got to do with House Bill 800. You know, I recognize the poultry business because they're here today, but also just in this room, you'll see other people who are interested at the Georgia Agribusiness Council, Farm Bureau, Georgia Pork Producers, Georgia Milk Producers, Georgia Cattlemen's Association, besides the Poultry Federation, support this bill. You know, animal agriculture takes health care, and as we all know very well now, biosecurity very important. Veterinarians are key to their business. They oversee the health and health care of the animals in the field. Veterinarians operate in the Code Section 43, and where this bill is, it's professional businesses. And we're talking about the definition of the veterinarian client-patient relationship. Okay, the veterinary client-patient relationship must be established in order for the veterinarian to practice medicine. Just a simple example is it's unlawful to prescribe prescription drugs without that relationship. And in plain terms that we understand, you've got to see it to treat it. Today's production agriculture, whether it's beef, hogs, dairy, poultry, animals are treated as a sum of one. They're fed the same water, feed, mineral, vitamins, heat, light, everything, and all their health needs. In the case of poultry, a veterinarian, upon visiting a number of farms in the region of responsibility, will determine what needs to be done to ensure a safe and healthy product for your family to eat. The company's reputation and that of the industry relies on his responsibility. If on examination they determine it looks like the problem would be replicated in the area, they determine whether the entire region would be treated, a few houses, or part of the region. It's up to that professional veterinarian. The State Board of Veterinary Medicine, along with industries affected, has seen the current statute did not give the authority to adopt a proposed rule last year that they wanted to. And so this would have acknowledged this type of veterinary medicine that's practiced all across America. This is called population-based. This House Bill 800 revises the statute to account for the practice of population production health vet medicine in animal agriculture. You see that addition on lines 19 through 21. Also on 11, you'll see a strike. It's been suggested by the Georgia Vet Medical Association that while we were in this code section, they wanted to clean it up. They felt the phrase was unclear and not necessary. Mr. Chairman, I hope I explained this very well. And, of course, I'll be glad to take any questions.
I thought you did pretty good. If anybody on the committee has any questions to either Rick or the state veterinarian, the head of the GVMA, and then Fieldale's veterinarian in the audience, if you have any questions about why we need to do this, or Mike, either one. Nobody's got any questions, I'd entertain a motion. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us go first, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for allowing us to do that, where Mike can get to where he's got to go. Tell all those folks that ain't from here to spend a bunch of money while they in town. Couple of things I want to do first. Did the committee? I thought I saw the commissioner walk in. Yeah, Gary, you want to say anything since you are the commissioner?
Thank you. Members of the committee, it's good to be with y'all. I'll add to the success of your meeting by being very brief. That'd be better. But I will look forward to hosting you and being with you across the way, and anytime our staff, we got a bill or two heading your way, and appreciate your help with. I think as we always try to do, we're going to bring something to you. It's going to be family vetted. That doesn't mean it's still not committee vetted yet, but we try to do our job on the front side and answer all the questions, and we'll be here to serve you. So thank you.
Doing the jobs on the front side is why these meetings don't last long. Chairman England's got a appropriations hearing going on now too. We're going, I understand, mess with a little budget issue tomorrow, and they got to get out of committee, so folks may be shifting in as the meeting goes on. But longer we got 8 people here, we're going to take care of business. I was going to introduce Clay Perkle as a new member, but Clay Perkle may be on appropriations or he didn't wake up in time. I don't know. But if he comes in, we'll introduce him. The other people that's kind of new is our new administrative assistant, Miss Lee Goff. She is she has jumped in with both feet. She's from Winfrey. She is from Madison, Georgia originally, and her father was in the Senate. So she understands this process better than most folks that would be new at this. And her brother's a farmer, so she understands agriculture too. Richard Sykes is the new intern this year. He goes to Kennesaw. Is it Kennesaw? Kennesaw to school. We're going to teach him a little bit about where his food comes from. And the summaries I was talking about a while ago, Tracy Atchison, y'all all know it. She's a senior budget and policy analyst, and she does an excellent job of getting it in language that we can understand. Out of Jeremy Avery's lawyer language that he writes stuff in. So Jeremy's been our legislative legal person for ever since he's been here, and he does a great job. So anyway, that's who kind of looks after all the committee goings on. So without anything else, you want to do House Bill 815, Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, for allowing me to present House Bill 815 this morning. This bill is very important for my district as well as consumer safety for the state of Georgia. Plantation quail, located in Greensboro, Georgia, has been part of our community for over 30 years. It's one of the largest domestic quail producers in the United States. From the hatchery to the finished packaged product, plantation quail provides over 140 jobs and is vital to our local economy. Due to the current regulatory environment for quail production, plantation quail and other domestic quail producers are at an economic disadvantage. Regarded as a game bird, quail are classified as a non-amenable species by the USDA. This means quail producers must voluntarily request inspection on a paid-per-hour basis, whereas other poultry species that are classified as amenable by the USDA, such as chicken and turkey, receive inspection at no cost to the producer. USDA further compounds this issue by allowing quail from Europe and other regions to be imported without the same inspection, labeling requirements as domestic poultry. An inspected product is required to access certain domestic markets and assure product and consumer safety. However, current Georgia law does not require quail products to be produced under inspection. This leaves the door open for uninspected imported quail products to be sold to our Georgia consumers. And this is why we think quail should be defined as amenable in federal code and state law to assure product and consumer safety, as well as leveling the playing field for a thriving Georgia company. Additionally, this legislation removes conflicting language between the Consumer Protection, now called the Food and Safety Division, and Meat Inspection Division. Now, I will try my best to answer any questions you may have on this matter, and if not, I've got some backup with me that can. I hope.
Does anybody on the committee have any questions for Scott?
I'm on number 2 there.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Working.
Chairman. Thank you, Representative Rhodes, for bringing this bill. I do wonder if are you aware of any federal efforts that are currently in play? I see the commissioner nodding his head behind your shoulder, so I think he's answering the question. There is some federal efforts to change.
We feel as though this is the first step that will really help us on the federal push.
Are we aware of any legislation that's been introduced in Congress as of yet?
Mr. Chairman? Representative Terry, not yet, but we actually have with our National Association of Departments of Ag. I'm going to be in Washington Monday and Tuesday next week on this very issue.
And if you wouldn't,
Get them to take a position, which is a little difficult at times too, but it's certainly, this is the first step where we can have platform. Senator Perdue in particular we're trying to give him a little ammunition to work with.
excellent. And so, would you walk me through the process today? If a bird is coming from Europe, as an example, I think we discussed this yesterday. But if a bird's coming from Europe, what are the steps it has to go through in order to make it to market?
From my understanding, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but right now they can basically send them in to the buyer and they can just put them on the shelves and sell them as is. Is that?
They're repackaged.
Yeah.
One of the bigger competitors is Spain, and we have product coming to New Jersey at 60 cents on the dollar of what ours is produced at. It's uninspected when it's processed. It's handled by people that pay 50 cents a day. There are a lot of those challenges, no OSHA, no all these other kinds of things, and when it comes in, it's just simply uninspected, repackaged, and it's being sold in competition with Representative Rhodes and constituents.
Thank you.
It's Rick. Yeah. Thank you, Representative Rhodes. We were just talking real quick. This in no way would harm the ability of a quail plantation that is have a shoot. They sell birds to the shooters on the farm. That's because it's done a lot. Like you might kill 6, if you're lucky. They might sell you another 30. Would this in any way harm that?
No, sir. This bill does not affect hunted quail at all. This is domestic quail that are grown for processing. No change, as hunter-killed quail don't meet the definition of non-traditional poultry provided within the bill, which is any avian species which are grown commercially for slaughter and preparation as human food, but are not amenable to the Federal Poultry Products Inspection Act.
Well, I just want to make sure, good commissioner back there, that we're, because in your quail plantation, if you're lucky, I mean, I've killed a few, but they process a few, and I just want to make sure we're not.
Aaron, would you like to? Right. Basically, as he explained, yeah, that wouldn't affect hunted quail. We're only talking about slaughtered quail in a processing facility.
Okay.
So that's totally different.
So that's under the federal definition. Where you go, it's a process in a processing plant,
Right.
not at.
This bill was vetted.
Grown commercial.
I'm just trying to make sure.
DNR commissioner, their side, Farm Bureau, everybody's vetted this to make sure that we did not infringe on any of those rights.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I just wanted to be real sure because I think some good lawyer could say that those quail are grown commercially. They are fed and basically raised for slaughter. So let's be real sure that we don't hit those folks because that's a big industry. And is there any wording that could be added that would make sure we don't?
Inspector?
We could add that language. I'm not exactly sure. We could get together on that, though, just to kind of further define and differentiate between the two so that there's no mistake.
Yeah, that I think that would make a big difference because we, like I say, I'd reading this, it could be maybe interpreted that way.
Mr. Chairman. State vet wants to say.
May I have say something? Thank you. This has been already run by meat inspection program, and that it is this wording, this verbiage that's being used does not incorporate our hunting facility.
Okay, good. Thank you.
That's right. And that there are other states, I believe Texas is one of them, that has quail as amenable species already. So this.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? I have a couple, but I think I'm gonna reserve mine till you get to the well doing your first bill.
I bet you are.
Yeah. Yes, sir. All right, go ahead. Which number are you?
This isn't.
Trey, and I understand the processing part of the quail, just like the poultry. What are we going to do later on as Georgia grows into the pheasants and different birds they bring in, also that we are allowed to hunt on these farms, but not just that, as they grow to produce pheasants for meat that I see coming further down the road? Are we going to come back and visit that at that time, or has anybody discussed that?
I think per the discussions that I've been in, we have not discussed that yet, but I'm sure we will come back and revisit it if we need to. But it mentions pheasants.
Well, it looked like here that it was going down that path.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, any more questions? A motion would be good. Oh, okay.
Real quick, just as a discussion point, it would be appropriate to have discussion about right now. It seems to me that some members have expressed a little bit of concern. Would it be prudent? I'm just asking. I don't mean to stir it up, but I'm just asking. Would it be prudent to table it for now until we can make sure that we have a good understanding of the word commercially? Because I think Representative Hardin brings up an excellent point about what the words on the paper, and we've heard some testimony here that's very reassuring. And I appreciate that, but when we look at the words on the paper, I just want to make sure that we're not capturing something that may not be what we intend. And my understanding of these farms that are like what Representative Jaspers had said earlier, is that they are processing, they're raising, they're slaughtering, and they're selling 30 birds at a time to the hunters that come there. Would that? I think that's a valid question. I don't know that I've heard an answer. Well, we've heard an answer, but as looking on the words on the page that we've addressed in the bill.
If you're talking about, and I'm not quite sure how this process works, these hunters are coming.
Representative Hardin probably has more experience there.
Shooting them, and then they're preparing them on site for the hunters.
Correct.
I think it's less the commercial part, more the slaughter part. Typically, when we talk about shooting animals through a hunting process, it's not a slaughter. Slaughter more refers to a very controlled process where they're, slaughtered and then processed rather than shot. The Department of Ag is also going to have the power to interpret this right here. So however they want to use this language, that's what everybody else is going to have to abide by. They'll have some leeway here. If they say, okay, we're reading commercially and slaughtered to only apply to what they've been talking about, then that's what's going to be the law. They have that sort of leeway. If you don't really trust Department of Ag to not include these other
I trust Commissioner Black, but I don't know what his retirement plans are.
I'm comfortable with this language, but it can always be strengthened to get at a very specific, concern of yours. I think it could be made even more clear. It might be a little bit redundant, but that's going to be up to the committee.
I think when you pair grown commercially for slaughter means what they do in Greensboro and their people.
They're grown on site commercially for slaughter. This has nothing to do with a hunting preserve or a hunting.
But you would have no objection to making sure that we were clear on that, would you? I mean, you would still get what you wanted. It would just be, and we would be protecting what you've testified you want to protect.
Yes, sir. That's your old neck of the woods down there, ain't it?
Absolutely. If you're only killing 6, you need to come see me. Maybe that's it. But it is. I mean, he did in the neck of my neck of the woods. I mean, we grew up around these hunting reservation plantations. I think the key here is that they are commercially grown for slaughter. We don't consider hunting slaughter. So ours are commercially grown for hunting, and that's the way they are killed. Even after you package them, it was because somebody flew in from somewhere, killed a lot of birds, didn't want to take them back. So what the plantation owners and the staff do is they just go and prepare them.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think that's the key there.
So even the birds that are sold, in addition to what you might bag, they
are hunted.
They are hunted. They're not
Right.
slaughtered.
There you go.
There's still somebody out there engaging in the act of hunting.
Right. The way you get
the biggest difference between these birds and the one that Winfred's talking about and you are is you don't break your teeth on a shot.
Mhm.
So I mean that's what it is.
The knowing chuckle of Representative Hardin means that he's experienced that, I think. Thank you.
Number 8, is that you, Sam?
Yeah, it was, but Representative Dukes pretty much covered it. I was just going to say that, birds on plantations are shot and killed and then processed as a gift when the hunters leave. There's no purchase made or anything usually for them, so he pretty well hit on that. So, and at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion.
Just say something that it's like provided however such terms should not include. I guess you're talking about pin-raised game birds or something like that used in hunting. It's kind of quick and dirty, but if that satisfies people.
Would that satisfy y'all? All right, look better.
It can also be tacked on at some other point in the process.
I'm good either way. I'm as is or addition.
You want me to look and get something a little bit tighter you can add
No.
and then on the board and that's all.
Well, yeah, if we need to.
Or we can do it in Senate if it gets.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam, you got a motion?
Yes, sir. I got a motion to pass.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Rhodes.
committee.
This was easy. Wait till you go judiciary. All right, while we got the veterinarians here, Scott, you want to do 538? No, that's fine. Wait a minute, let me cut you on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm bringing before the committee HB 538, which is a substitute. It's LC 400994S. And this was brought to me as a result of a call I received from a constituent last year. Her daughter, who was 4 years old, was bitten in the face by one of her neighbor's dogs. She went to the veterinarian where that dog was being treated and asked if it was up to date on its rabies vaccination, and was told that per Georgia code, that veterinarian was not allowed to disclose that type of information because it was a medical record. Therefore, the parent of this child made the decision to go ahead with treatment of rabies. My understanding of rabies treatment is a painful treatment, and the child was subjected to that treatment. The dog ended up passing the 10-day quarantine that's required in these situations, and so the mother of the child felt that she had doubled the amount of pain that the child had gone through this experience for no reason. So she asked me to look into this, and when I did, we worked with the folks from the Georgia Veterinarians Association, and we came up with some language that I think everybody could agree with. The heart of the matter is in lines 22 through 24, which would just allow the doctor that's treating the victim of the bite to call the veterinarian and ask if that dog is up to date on its shots. And that's it. That's all it does. Kind of a simple, common sense piece of legislation. I'll answer any questions if the committee has any.
Anybody got any for Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we're so here talking. Representative Turner, why? I guess law enforcement can already ask for it and get it, right? They are not encumbered by that restriction.
No, I don't think so. We had a different version we discussed as well about the county health officials, but we decided that the treating physician would be the one that would immediately. But I believe that virtually anything can be accomplished through a subpoena.
Or just law enforcement going to the veterinarians. What?
What's important about the way this is presented is that it is the physician doing the asking of the veterinarian. Therefore, and the fact that rabies is a deadly disease, and that what they're asking for is, has this animal received vaccine or not? If so, when? And that's a totally reasonable ask, and I think a very vital ask, as opposed to the parent of the child will say going and doing the asking. I think it's well
Oh, I do. I want just, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I think there needs to be a time thing on this. I guess I've learned over the years, my years here, that, if I don't want to give, in this sort of situation, Representative Turner, I think you want to give a time. Like, if I present this to the veterinarian, I want a response. Because, like you're saying, Dr. Cobb, now. I'll need it, and I don't know if you want to.
Within so many hours?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, because, like you're saying, we're going to determine this treatment probably, as parents or I would be, quickly, and not, hey, I get to it tomorrow or not there. I mean, you want an answer, I would think.
So maybe in line 33 where it says shall disclose, maybe after that within 24 hours or within one business day, or probably 24 hours.
Yeah. I mean, was
Would
that Dr. Cobb, would be reasonable?
I don't have a line 30. I don't have a line.
23, I apologize, 23 on page 1, second to last line.
24 hours?
Well, time is of the essence.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
You've got to start this treatment right away if there is rabies spread.
Would it be reasonable just to strike written so that the physician could actually just call and get an immediate response?
On request by the physician.
Are you asking me whether right away?
We have some folks there, or gentlemen here from the Georgia Veterinarians. Would you like to add your 2 cents? We'd love to hear from you, I think.
My only concern about that would be the records are confidential, and if we disclose those inappropriately, we're liable for that. So if I receive a phone call with somebody saying, I'm a doctor, how do we know that they are truly a doctor, that they're truly treating that person? So I think in writing, it does give us some protection.
How long would be inappropriate once one of our fine veterinarians receive that for a response? I guess is what Representative Turner, we're all kind of asking.
Mm-hmm.
What would be a good, fair, in y'all's opinion?
I think within 24 hours.
Okay.
There's definitely some concern with the victim and the victim's parents if it is a child, so they want to know. So I think 24 hours.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, I mean,
So
sure, man.
I'm open to amending.
Does
That's your job.
does written include like an email or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Written communication is pretty standard. But if we want to add, I'm open to make an amendment here in the committee on line 23 between the words shall and disclose. It would now read, or shall disclose within 24 hours the rabies vaccination history. Jeremy, would that be?
That's fine, unless you want to, that 24 hours, you want to talk about when they receive it, talk about this written, I assume you mean, and that's probably how it'll be read, so they'll receive the notice, and then 24
Yeah,
hours.
upon written request. So if you shall disclose within 24 hours the rabies vaccination history of any animal within such veterinarian's care upon written request.
That's what I'm saying, if you write in on Friday, that's not going to get it until probably Monday, and then he has 24 hours, that's Tuesday. I don't know how that's sufficient or not.
That's a long time.
Long time to wait to be treated.
How critical is how quick the victim gets treated if the dog wasn't vaccinated?
I'd say it to Mr. Mr. Chairman, if it was your wife calling, it'd be like immediate.
I think,
important.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think to a certain degree, we're never going to catch everything, but this is an additional tool we're putting in the toolbox of the physician. If a call comes in on Saturday, or something happens where the veterinarian is simply unavailable, there are still going to be instances, I think we all recognize, that there will still be instances where somebody's going to take the shot regardless, because they didn't, even 24 hours may be too long in certain circumstances, especially if the dog has obvious signs of rabies and foaming at the mouth or whatever. So I would be, and I would ask the committee to be okay with moving forward with the 24-hour amendment, and then, if something happens, I don't think there's anything punishable here. We're not going to throw anybody in jail over this. But
You got something as well.
Then one business day.
Y'all, we done rolled over into litigation, and we got a good one right here.
And so with all due respect to Representative Turner, I think the issue, Mr. Chairman, would be whether or not some veterinarian gets sued
And
about this.
we're
And
not
so we
after
don't know
that.
So I would make a motion that we amend LC 40-0994S on line 23 and 24 so that it reads, shall disclose the rabies vaccination history of any animal within such veterinarian's care within 24 hours of receipt of written request by the physician of any person bitten by such animal.
Well, I think that's what we're aiming at in there.
Yes, sir.
But you know, Representative Quick's much more astute at this lawyer and stuff than I am, so I trust her.
But Mr. Chairman, that way you would not have any liability on a vet
Right.
who did not receive the request, some email sent into cyberspace or something like that. If we're talking about email possibly being a written request, it would have to actually be received in order to trigger any liability, because we're saying shall there, which could create a duty, I think.
So it would be within such veterinarian's care within 24 hours of receipt upon
Of
receipt.
upon
Getting rid of
receipt.
one, just say receipt of a written
That's right.
request.
Tom, you've been had your light blinking for.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Representative Turner for bringing this bill. But I've got to say, have we lost our minds giving HIPAA protection to animals, and sometimes at the expense of people? My goodness, why in the world do we think we need to protect the dog's right to whether it's been rabies vaccinated or not? I mean, that's just silly. Thank you.
Thank you,
I think
Representative
that's
Kerber.
the aim of this bill is to
HIPAA protection for
to
animals.
fix
I've
that.
heard it all.
All right, anybody else got any questions? Dr. Carl?
I'm just looking here in the
Wait till tomorrow, you'll hear something
Georgia Rabies Control Manual, which is produced by the public health veterinarians, and it's standard that everybody goes by. And in here it says, this is post-exposure vaccination is what it's called. 4 doses of rabies vaccine over a 14-day period. Rabies immunoglobulin and first dose of rabies vaccine should be given as soon as possible after exposure. Additional doses will be given on days 3, 7, 14, after the first vaccination. A 5-dose regime of rabies vaccine should be administered to persons with altered immunity. But anyway, as soon as possible is the key.
And I think what Scott's getting at is the fact that if the veterinarian is able to tell the doctor that the dog has been vaccinated, then the person that's bitten doesn't have to go through all those shots. If nobody knows whether the dog has been vaccinated or not, then if I was one getting bit, I would take a chance and go on through the shots and get protected. We're not dictating any kind of medical regulations or anything. We're just trying to get, actually the gist of his bill is trying to keep a kid from having to go through the rabies vaccination. By one
Or
question.
anybody. If it were
Yeah,
me,
anybody, but I mean,
if it were
yours
my
was a
child, I
kid.
might go through with the vaccination procedure anyway. But if it were me, as an adult that's consenting, I might opt out of it if the dog had his shots current. But that would be my decision as an adult. But as a parent, I might react completely differently. So.
The language there? As soon
I
as
like the
possible?
language that's proposed here.
Yeah, but the standard is as soon as possible.
I don't. Yeah, I like Representative Quick's version, and I would second her motion to amend.
And it would protect veterinarian.
Mm.
All right, we got them. Is your discussion based on what she said?
Yeah, well, it is, yes.
Okay.
It's actually a question.
If Dr. Cobb or the other veterinarian could answer, is the HIPAA violation or the HIPAA protection federal or state? Or is it just a code of ethics?
Here's the thing, too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're throwing this HIPAA word around. It's not actually HIPAA. It's,
well, it is the protection of that information, the privacy of that information. Is that a state law, a federal law, or a veterinarian's code?
Well, it's actually in the code section that addresses it is Georgia law.
Mhm.
If you were to read lines 11 through 21, it describes that.
We got a motion and a second on the floor that we need to deal with. Representative Quick, you want to restate what you said so we'll all understand
I'll try
it?
after all that, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. I move to amend LC 400994S at lines 23 and 24 so that it shall read, shall disclose the rabies vaccination history of any animal within such veterinarian's care within 24 hours of receipt of written request by the physician of any person bitten by such animal.
We all clear on that?
I'd second that.
All right, all in favor of her motion to amend, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, no. All right, now we need a motion to do pass or whatever. So anybody? All right, we got a motion and a second to do pass House Bill 538 as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
folks
need
that
to go
helped out.
back and
Appreciate it.
apologize to some folks. I didn't know that the plantation quail people were here. So y'all, you know, you would think that Representative Rhodes would have brought a package or two for us if he really wanted his bill to pass.
Gravy. Oh.
But thank y'all for coming. We appreciate you getting up early and fighting them wrecks on I-20 like I did to get here this morning. And I apologize again for not recognizing y'all. Representative Kirby, you want to do 697?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bring to you today House Bill 697, part of the Consumer Affairs portion of this committee's work. This bill came to me started off talking to a group of seniors, and especially during this downturn of our economy, some unscrupulous salespeople. And it's something we've all seen before. You know, we'll send you 3 free issues and just write cancel on the invoice if you decide not to keep it. And sometimes seniors may have forgot, or their kids came in and said, do you really want this? They said no, they threw it away. And some claim they even sent it back and wrote cancel on it, and the company continued with the harassing phone calls, and they finally just paid the subscription or whatever it was. So what this bill does is simply turn this thing around and says, no, you've got to have an affirmative action to say, I want to keep this, I want to maintain this. And as we looked at this further, actually ran into some companies, some big corporations especially during these last few years, where they were experiencing the same thing, where they'd say cancel on it, and then the company said, no, we never got it. And, you know, even if they kept a photocopy of it and said cancel on it, they said, well, you didn't mail it to us, so, you know, you're still liable. And you know, it's $150 a year, so a corporate legal department said it's not even worth the phone calls, just pay the bill and go on. So I think this is a good protection act for our seniors and for our businesses and everybody in the state, that if you want to buy something, that's fine. You tell them, I want to buy it. But don't think just because you don't get a cancel notice and that was the deal that we'll send you 3 freebies. And if you don't cancel, we're going to bill you. And then they've been after them and harassing phone calls. So with that, I'll be happy to entertain any questions, but I think it's pretty straightforward.
Does anybody have any questions for Representative Kirby? If any of you are wondering why we are doing something like this, and it ain't got nothing to do with cows and sows, we are Consumer Affairs too. So, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Kirby. I think your intentions are very good here. I do have a question about goods, wares, and merchandise specifically. Would this I like to subscribe from time to time to an ESPN insider information app that might charge me give me the first 3 months free. and then the rest of the year I'm paying $4 a year, $4 a month, or $4.95 for the access to that insider content. Would that be covered under something like this?
It should, yes, because you would tell them, I want to keep doing this, or if you said, no, I don't, they wouldn't have a standing to say, well, you took the 3 freebies, we didn't get to cancel those, you have to take it now. So it just puts the onus to say, yes, I do want to have it, unless Jeremy said an app wouldn't apply, but I think under those definitions, an app is functions in goods, wares, or merchandise. You concur, Jeremy?
It's kind of a gray area between services. If you describe the app a little bit better, you're talking about.
It would be a news app that you get on your phone. You download, and it has exclusive content for subscribers. If you have, and then the Apple Store would collect your.
I think we handled that better a few sessions ago, referring to like subscription services in a different code section. We did almost the exact same thing, and I can't pull it in my head right now.
It was House Bill 234 that Representative Lynn Smith did, I think.
And this should,
Boy. I won't let that slide. That was good.
From now on, I'm never going to try to pull one over on Chairman McCall.
I won't tell them you got that from Lynn this week, Mr. Chairman.
That's right.
Because I was talking to her as well. So, any other questions?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, any more questions for Representative Kirby? A motion would be good.
Move to pass.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right, thank you, sir. We have one more little bill, and then there's a couple of things I need to go over. House Bill 579. There's a substitute in your folder for it. I had a guy in Oglethorpe County come to me, and there was a question of whether he could, or his helpers, they were getting stopped by law enforcement for riding a golf cart between the chicken house and the barn, and you know, most time it's on the right of way, but sometimes it may or may not be on the side of the road. But anyway, all this says, and if you, and I know you hadn't looked back, but if you do, all right, do y'all have,
You do.
y'all don't have a 1029S? Well, we can work off the original, because all we did was change a couple of things. No, we're good. And I think Representative Williams wants to add a thing anyway, so it's going to wind up being an amended thing coming out. But anyway, the code section that deals with this kind of stuff talks about as long as you got a slow-moving vehicle on a 3-wheeler. Well, this thing was written back before there were 4-wheelers and Polarises and all that kind of stuff that we use on the farm. And this deals with 4-wheelers, Polarises, golf carts, as long as it is used for agricultural pursuits. So this ain't kids up and down the road on Sunday afternoon looking for another mud hole to get in. This is an actual person doing farming that can go from field to field or barn to barn or chicken house to field or whatever, as long as he's doing agricultural pursuits. And agricultural pursuits are already defined under another code section when it talks about seat belts usage. The original bill had 4,000 feet. The substitute that and it had an 18-year-old. The substitute that we're looking at backs it down to 16, because that's when you get your driver's license, and all the 4-wheeler safety thing says you can't do it, you know, ain't supposed to ride one if you're under 16, and it bumps it to 5,000. But Representative Williams and I were talking yesterday, and I think he has got some ideas on an amendment that I'm fine with. Chuck, you want to?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, really doesn't even maybe qualify as a full amendment. I guess technically it is. What Chairman McCall and I were discussing yesterday was working to ensure that in addition to traditional agriculture, that forestry use of these vehicles is included. So in an abundance of caution to on line 17, after the word agricultural, between agricultural and pursuits, after the word agricultural, add the two words or forestry to make it definitive that that forestry is included as well as traditional agricultural.
And we had also talked about taking the 5,000 feet limit out, because in code now there's no limit.
Yep, that's thank you for that reminder, Mr. Chairman. That is correct. A lot of farmers, a lot of folks in the forestry business have tracts of land that are more than a mile apart. And our thinking was, why is there any reason to put a 5,000 foot or basically a 1 mile limit in there when a farmer or timber producer may have tracts that are 2 miles or 3 miles apart? If they comply and have the slow moving vehicle emblem and complying in every other way, why have a distance limitation in there? So I would propose that we eliminate the 5,000 or any footage requirement, Mr. Chairman.
And just so you know, I have talked to Colonel McDonough about this, and he said he is fine with it as long as it's for ag forestry use. So that's where we are with it. So it would be a substitute, taking out the 5,000 foot limit, or taking out any limit, and it would change it to 16 years of age, and it would also add or forestry after agriculture pursuits.
Yes,
Does anybody have any questions for either Chuck on his amendment or me? Yes, ma'am.
What is, the vehicle has an emblem?
The emblem is defined in 40-8-4. It's those triangles that you see on the back of a tractor.
Okay.
It's a slow-moving vehicle.
Okay. I'm trying to picture the kids in my district that are running all over the city trying to explain to the police officer they're doing forestry.
They can't do it. Yeah, that's exactly the ones that don't count on this.
We're working on some local legislation, so this is great. It helps.
Yeah.
What we're doing, so.
Yeah, and it's not even kids where I live on a Sunday running up and down the road on a, trying to find something to get stuck in.
Yeah.
So this is a guy that's actually working, or his people. No, I mean, and the only reason we put 16 in there is because if you want to take that out, I don't care. But, you got your driver's license at 16, and all the safety stuff on these ATVs say don't operate under 16. So that's the angle on that.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Okay.
Thank you for this bill. This is really good. But I'm just curious to know, these small rural communities where police officers may not have access to the internet. I think yesterday there was room, Energy and Utility Commission sort of feel about the lack of internet services in rural communities. I'm just curious to know how these small rural police officers, will they be aware of this change in the law so they won't be continually harassing workers of agriculture?
They should be, but as an extra precaution, what I do, I keep a ag width exemption code section in my truck. So if I get stopped for hauling something too wide, I can pull it out and show it to them that I'm legal. Or I know what 40-8-76.1 says, that you don't have to have a seatbelt on if you're carrying out agriculture pursuits. And it doesn't hurt to keep that in your pocket or in your dashboard, just in case you run up on that kind of situation.
Opening 20 gates, it makes a difference.
That's right. And I'm not trying to be short with you. I'm just saying that it doesn't hurt to have a backup in your pocket. Because I'm sure our good GMA people are going to get all of their police informed on this thing if we pass it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could we proceed from putting a tag on these vehicles here in the near future?
When you get it on bicycles, we'll start putting them on. We'll start putting them on.
We want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Are there any more questions? Well, a motion would be in order one way or the other. Is there a second? Oh, as amended, as amended. We'll get you the language, Jerry. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, thank you. Couple of quick things, and thank y'all for moving this thing on fast and being patient. I lost my piece of paper. I had a scratch pad. All right, Wednesday morning, Brian, tell us about it, the GAC breakfast.
Good morning, Chairman. Thank y'all. Jonathan and I will be hosting Georgia Agricultural Council Legislative Breakfast at the Depot. We'd love for y'all to come. You should receive the invite about 2 weeks ago at the very beginning of the session. Many of you have already RSVP'd. We appreciate that. And if you're looking for a group that we can help assist you with, then let us know. We'll work with them and we'll get you a seat with some good ag folks and love to have you come.
And it's your 50th anniversary, right?
50th anniversary for our organization, and we'll start food lines at 7:15, and the program will begin at 7:45. Come early and get all you want. Go ahead.
Thank you, Brian, for all you do for us. Also in your folder for y'all that didn't get to go to the farmer's market, there's a little history of the farmer's market and some facts. If you see where I wrote 74 over the $70 billion, that's the new estimate. It's $74 billion is what. That's why the 74 was written over the 70. Monday night, there's a committee dinner. If you have not responded to the boss here, please do, one way or the other, so we'll know. And last, there's some door prizes over in the window provided by the Department of Agriculture, and there's also in your folder a recipe on how to make roasted peanuts or honey roasted peanuts. So, yeah, these are raw peanuts. Thank you, Gary, Sidney. Y'all help yourself, and if that's not enough, I bet we can come up with some more. So does anybody have anything else? Thank y'all for getting here early, and yes, sir.
We have a late arriving new member that.
Oh, I did.
I apologize to the.
I think
You know,
he was chairing
when,
appropriations this morning.
When I introduced him a while ago as a new member, now y'all can put a face with the guy that wasn't sitting here a while ago.
I do apologize. I was in the principal's office and I could not get away from the governor. I just tried, but
I can't believe you
I'm
put the
sorry,
governor
Mr.
over
Chairman.
us.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Who's on? Yeah.
Quick announcement.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
pertaining to ag, but I just want to invite, just make sure that the legislators here know that we have some guests at the Capitol today, alumni from Ward Valley State, Savannah State, and Albany State in room 216. If you stop in and just say hello and welcome them to our state.
Thank you, Miss Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
Tommy, your button's blinking. I didn't know.
I didn't know it was on, sorry.
Okay. All right, anybody have anything else? Thank y'all very much. We did it in an hour. That was good.